Hi, everybody. So, today I wanted to talk about the topic of foolishness, which I kind of always knew, and I think I'll say a little bit about that. I usually start off saying something that I'm going to touch on later, I think. Um, I kind of always knew uh, wasn't that bad of a thing. When I was young, I definitely had experiences of feeling left out or kind of like outcast. The word weird was one of the first insults that really affected me in a deeply negative way. And I've kind of come to learn that that is like my power, my strength, my ability to just be, right? Not have to worry about a lot of those pressures. And we all have that. But the idea of being foolish as we get older becomes more and more something that we don't want to be. It means so many different things to so many different people based on their own insecurities and attachments, aversions, right? Their ignorances, the things they can't see about their life or are unwilling to see, are really centered around this idea of not wanting to appear foolish, especially in the eyes of others. And it's for that reason exactly that not being afraid to look foolish is a great tool, or rather, accepting the feeling of looking foolish as it arises. It frees us from that pressure that I was talking about, that social pressure, the pressure of our peers, the pressure of our parents, the people in charge of us, the people around us, even the pressure of ourselves. Um, it taps into something that I think we innately know. Sometimes, a lot of times actually, when we look foolish, it's usually because we're doing something like based on our intuition, something that goes against common reasoning. And a lot of times, common reasoning isn't really common sense. Common sense is like being able to see what's right in front of you. And if you're able to look foolish, then I think you're brave enough to be able to see what's right in front of you. Um, a metaphor that I like, something that really helps me because it's so visceral, is the idea of dancing. And when you're dancing, and you're really feeling it and you're really enjoying your experience, you're not really caring what other people think about you. You're not deeply concerned whether or not someone thinks you look foolish in that moment. The moment that you start to do that kind of pulls you out of it. You're no longer enjoying the dance in the same way that you were before. And I feel like that can be applied to all of our life. We have moments where we feel the eyes or the pressure of others, even if that's only imagined. Our subjective experience is real to us. And the moment we feel that and we start to try to grab onto something, we realize we weren't grabbing onto anything, we need to just let go. This is like the flow state that a lot of people talk about, but the flow state becomes a limiting idea in and of itself, because flow can be had in all the moments, and even the moments when you're out of it, you can see it to become part of the flow. I don't think you could do that as easily. It's not as helpful. I mean, eventually you have to even find it in the really hard moments, even moments of pressure. But it's best to let go of that need to look a certain way. I mentioned this idea of bravery. And bravery is so, so important. I've talked about it in a couple of my videos. Bravery is so important on the path to personal development, growth, well being, a sense of unifying yourself with others, a sense of peace and love, like a real compassionate sort of place of awareness. It requires bravery to get to this point. you can't imagine that you're just really taking a good look at yourself, and then you look out into the world and you're filled with hate or ignorance or jealousy, even attachment. You're missing something, right? And what's missing in that moment is courage to see things as they are, to not be scared, to look foolish, to be able to live the truth that you know works for you, something that you've always known. When you were a child, you knew how the world worked, and then voices of others started to drown out that intuition. And even when we like to imagine that we are the arbiters of those voices, in many ways we are. It's our relationship to them. That voice of intuition, that voice that's always speaking to and has always spoken to you, is there right now, guiding you with every breath. And that's the voice of truth. That's the voice of awareness. And truth becomes this sword that breaks through the imagined pressures that we put on ourselves ultimately, despite the action of others that we ultimately let hold us down. Something that's helped me a lot, I've had some connection to this, maybe not always with the idea of foolishness, maybe actually very much far from it, but still, the pressure of the eyes of others. Something that's always helped me was this idea of that you will always be the villain in someone else's story, no matter if you do everything right, no matter if you say all the right words and do all the right actions, someone's going to have a problem with you. And that's okay. You know, that's one of life's lessons that we have to learn. And a lot of times I think there's value in leaning into that and accepting that. If we're living our truth and we're enjoying ourselves and we're spreading this love and we see it on the faces of so many, and there are people in our life who run away from that, it's not our responsibility and shouldn't be, I think, even our interest. It's not the right thing to do to try to force that upon someone, to allow them to run away and that be a lesson in and of itself. When you stop being afraid to look like the fool, I mean, that's part of the equalization process, right? That's part of the regulation. It doesn't, there is no foolish, there is no, I guess wise would be the opposite, but it's wisdom in this small way. You get unattached to these labels and maybe are able to apply a sort of deeper meaning to everything. And I mean, that's a good thing. That's one of the things in my life that maybe I've been deemed foolish for, in a way, was trying to apply this deeper understanding to every topic in my life. For a little bit, I think I could admit to maybe some spiritual bypassing. But when you spiritualize your emotions, you're forced to face them. And I think foolishness is really associated, as a lot of them are, with the face of fear. So you have nothing to be scared of. I hope this finds you all well, and sending my love.